Comic Series Part 3. So let's get started. When Loki's manipulations forced several of Earth's mightiest heroes to band together to stop the Hulk, Thor became a founding member of the superhuman champions known as the Avengers 47. He continues to serve with the team while also working with other superheroes, like Doctor Strange, whom he also operated on as Donald Blake. He has, however, left the team several times for extended leaves of absence. Sometime later, a cybernetically enhanced alien known as Beta Ray Bill arrived on Earth and proved worthy of lifting Mjolnir. Odin created a new hammer for Bill and transferred the enchantment that enabled Thor to change into mortal form to Bill's hammer. This allowed Bill to assume his pre-enhanced form but also removed the Blake persona from existence. With the aid of Nick Fury, public director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Thor adopted a new secret identity, that of a construction worker, Sigurd Jarlsson. Thor did not actually become mortal in his Jarlsson identity, he simply dressed as a contemporary human and wore glasses. Thor grew a beard to conceal the terrible scars left on his face due to wounds inflicted by the Asgardian death goddess Hela. Hela later healed the scars on his face and Thor shaved himself smooth again. After Odin disappeared during his battle with Surtur, the people of Asgard wished to make Thor, Odin's designated heir, their new ruler. Unwilling to give up his guardianship of Earth or his life of adventure, at least not yet, Thor declined the offer and instead nominated Balder the Brave to be Asgard's ruler. Balder ruled until Odin returned and reclaimed the throne. For a time, Thor was merged with the human Erik Masterson, an architect who first met Thor as Jarlsson. The two men would exchange bodies using Mjolnir, as Thor had done before as Blake 52 after Loki attempted to kill Susan Austen, the woman who cared for Erik's son. Thor became furious and slew Loki. As punishment he was exiled from Earth and Erik Masterson was given the Thunder God's power to continue in the role of Thor eventually. After Loki reappeared, Erik was able to find Thor, who had been hidden within Erik's own subconsciousness, and rescued him from exile. Erik had proven himself to be a hero in his own right, and Odin rewarded him with the enchanted mace Thunderstrike. Taking Thunderstrike as his alias, Erik continued to serve as a hero on Earth until he died heroically after battling the Egyptian death god Seth. Thor grieved for Erik, who had become a close friend on Midgard. Odin and Thor eventually learned that the constant shift of identity and sharing of power Odin had encouraged had driven Thor insane, marked by the appearance of a Valkyrie who was a manifestation of Thor's insanity. With the assistance of the Infinity Watch, Thanos, and Doctor Strange, Thor regained his sanity and Odin came to realize the error he had made. After a paramedic named Jake Olsen was slain during a battle between the Avengers and the Destroyer, Marnot, a servant of Odin, gave Thor Olsen's form as a new identity. Although Thor could assume Olsen's form, he had none of Olsen's memories and thus found this identity to be troublesome for him. He also re-encountered Jane Foster while in this identity, and brief sparks were rekindled between them. Once again attempting to thwart Ragnarok, Odin tried to trick the world's ash tree Yggdrasil into believing that Ragnarok had already happened. To do so, the Asgardians were to be transformed into mortals so that they would not be recognized as gods. Odin intended that Thor would restore the Asgardians to normal, but Seth accidentally prematurely activated the plan. Compounding the situation, Thor disappeared battling Onslaught and wound up on the new Counter-Earth created by Franklin Richards. By the time Thor returned to Earth, the Asgardians had managed to regain their identities but were then captured by the dark gods. Ultimately, Thor rescued his people from the dark gods with the aid of Hercules and the Destroyer. During a period where Thor was injured and needed to recover, he still had responsibilities as Jake Olsen that needed attention. Odin separated Olsen from Thor temporarily so that Thor could recuperate properly while Jake attended to his life. This temporary separation lasted far longer than intended when the fire demon Surtur resurfaced. After Odin fell in battle against Surtur, Asgard was left without a ruler. Thor eventually reluctantly accepted the throne and assumed his father's Odin power, becoming much more powerful. He also remained separate from the Jake Olsen aspect of himself. Without the influence of Jake Olsen, the embodiment of his connection to humanity, Thor became more distant and less empathetic to the needs of man. Thor became determined to restore the gods of Asgard to their former place on Earth as beings to be worshipped, merging Earth with Asgard to accomplish this end. Thor's increased activity on Earth resulted in a resurgence of followers for the Asgardians, and a Church of Thor soon emerged. Thor's willingness to fight for the lives of his followers ultimately set him against his fellow Avengers when he attempted to overthrow the government of Slokavia. Earth's citizens became increasingly wary of Thor, and the consortium of nations finally launched an assault upon Asgard that reduced it to rubble. In the disaster that followed, an enraged Thor lost an arm battling the humans and killed his other self, Jake Olsen, finding himself no longer worthy of Mjolnir. From that point on, Thor devoted himself to Earth's conquest to bring order to humanity. He ruled Earth for nearly 200 years. In that time, he married the Enchantress and she bore him a son, Magni. Thor finally came to realize that he had done wrong and used a device created by Zarko to travel back in time and prevent Asgard's destruction. He re-emerged as his younger self with Jake Olsen, to ensure that Olsen's humanity would prevent his future from occurring in that timeline.